What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Michael. So happy that you're in the dojo today. So, while I was making the Toonami video for you guys, which I highly go recommend you check it out, it's called Memories of Toonami Part 1. We got 24 views on it, and I'm really hoping to pick that up because I know you Toonami faithful are out there. But back to the original point of why we're making this video. So I have been watching a lot of anime lately, and one of those anime that I was watching has really become one of my favorites. In fact, after I got done watching it originally, because I loved it so much, I went back and I watched it again. And I want to talk about it with you here today. But before we get started, please hit the like button, share and subscribe, and please leave a comment on your way out and let me know what you think. Also, hit that notification bell so you know the next time I make another video. Excuse me. So, let's get into it. So, the anime that I'm talking about today is called Failure Frame. Okay? And I had been long awaiting for this anime to come out because a friend of mine told me about it, and I was waiting for the English dub to come out. And finally, the dub came out, and I was like, all right, let's freaking go. And I binged this anime literally with in maybe 2 to 3 days. And it was so awesome. So let me give you the premise here. Okay. Now, Failure Frame is, yes, it is an isekai. Okay. It is an isekai. Basically, a classroom full of students gets summoned to another world to basically be the heroes. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, oh man, not another one. But bear with me here because this one's kind of cool. Okay. And this is what made it my favorite. Okay. So, the class, like I said, is summoned to another world where they meet the goddess. And the goddess basically says you have been summoned to be heroes of the, gives the class the whole spiel, right? And so she says, you all will become great heroes. The only thing we need you to do is we need you to essentially be tested. So what kind of magic power do you have? What, how are you going to be a hero, or which class are you going to be in, right? And it's your basic ranking system, so from S tier to E tier, right? So some get S tier, some get A tier, some get B tier, C tier, D tier. You get the gist, right? Here's the thing with S tier. If you get an S tier ranking, basically it means you break the magic crystal altogether, okay? And of course, A tier, you get different elements. Okay, you got that, okay? Well, our main character, which is named Toka Mimori. Remember that name. Toka Mimori. He doesn't get a high ranking. In fact, he gets the lowest ranking. He gets E rank. And the thing about Mimori is he essentially basically gets, what's the words I'm looking for? I'm looking for basically Mimori, nobody thinks that he's perfect, right? Or nobody thinks that he can make a difference now that he's E-class. They all think he's weak, the weakest of the weak. And because of this, and I'll go into Mimori's backstory a little bit more throughout the video, but they all think that he's weak and pathetic, and basically the goddess says, hey, because you're an E-class, you're weak and feeble or whatever like that, and we can't have that. So basically, you're going to be discarded. That's the word. You're going to be discarded. And you're going to be sent away, far away, so that you don't, bring everybody down, right? So you don't, fail, or basically so that you don't hinder us. And, Mimiri figures out that he does have skills, like he has paralyze, he has poisons, he has a sleep function, and he's like, see, I can be useful. And the goddess is like, those are weak. Those are just weak skills. They don't mean anything. Even the lowest ranking monsters won't even do anything. And then, despite all that, he doesn't even have a weapon. He just has like a magic bag, and basically the goddess basically just like, yep, okay, goodbye, you're gone. So transports him to a labyrinth where essentially he's supposed to die. And so tell me if this sounds familiar to you guys. I mean, there's a lot of anime isekai tropes in this. For instance, like I mentioned, class gets summoned to another world and gets special powers. The guy that you least think is going to make a difference gets demoted to E rank, or a low rank where everybody thinks he's weak and pathetic, right? Because he's weak and pathetic, nobody thinks very highly of him. Or in the case of this anime, or like maybe Shield Hero or Arifureta, basically they are discarded, and basically they are maybe made fun of, or basically told to stay out of the way, right? So the thing is, just like Arifureta, and there's some very big similarities to Arifureta, okay? But Mimori basically learns to master his skills throughout the labyrinth, and he manages to escape. And on his travels, he is determined now to beat the goddess who trapped him. There's also another anime that I'm thinking of right now where the main character basically wants to take revenge on the goddess who, you know, essentially did wrong by him. And that would be Tsukamichi Moonlight Fantasy. Because if you remember, it, in Moonlight Fantasy, the main character was like, essentially, I'm going to make something of myself despite that goddess calling me trash and worthless, right? So it's kind of the same, but it's a little different because Mimori basically, he's out for revenge. Like, he is literally out for revenge to beat the goddess who basically said he was worthless and tried to have him killed and discarded, right? So along the way, he meets an elf who is literally my waifu, okay? Like the minute like I saw her, I'm like, love at first sight, instant waifu, right here, it's happening. And her name is Cirrus. I'm going to screw up her last name right now. Raytheon. Yeah, I think that's it. Cirrus Raytheon. And she used to be the knight captain for a certain nation, but she's on the run. And Mimori happens to rescue her, but keeps his name a secret. Doesn't tell her who he really is for, a good couple episodes, and then eventually they start developing a relationship, and it happens, okay? And at first, she starts off by kind of pretending to be his bodyguard and being a mercenary. And then eventually he figures out who she is, and then, yeah. And then it's like the relationship starts to develop, and God, I want this God, I want this anime to get a second season, please. Anyway, so it's a really cool little story. Along the way, they pick up more characters, like a leopard man named Easy Speed, and she used to be a gladiator, and now she's just trying to buy her freedom so that she can take this little kid named Liz and just live happily ever after. Mimori, on the other hand, is looking for a witch called, or a person called the Witch of Taboos, excuse me, but she is a witch. And the reason why he's looking for her is because she might know a way of reading ancient magic that he can't decipher. And he's hoping that this ancient scroll or this ancient magic could be a way to help defeat the goddess. Now, I'm going to get into my own theories of who the goddess really is because I don't think she's a good person. And you kind of see that throughout the series that she is just not who we think she is, or who I should say, she's not who the main characters or the whole entire class thinks she is. Like, she pretends to be this good, loving, like, oh my god, I brought you here to save this world. But on the other hand, I do think she's holding a secret, but I'll get into that in a little bit, okay? So, it's all, for Mimori, it's all about finding the Witch of Taboos, deciphering this magic, and hopefully being able to take revenge on the goddess, okay? And the one place where they can find the Witch of Taboos is in the Valley of the Golden-Eyed Monsters, okay? And the legend of the Golden-Eyed Monsters is basically coincides with what the goddess told the class, including Mimori, when they first arrived in this world, which is that the Demon King has this special aura, and that all those who fall under it or are heavenly, or did I say heavenly? Heavily influenced by the Demon King's aura or the Demon Army's aura, basically their eyes turn gold, and then they are known as golden-eyed monsters. And Mimori knows that he has to go there to the heart of the Valley of the Golden-Eyed Monsters to find the Witch of Taboos. Okay? So, it is such a fantastic story. I love it. Yes, it's another isekai, but I have to say, I love it. Along the way, you get your usual, like, magical creatures. Like, he gets a slime, which he calls Pigimaru. He gets a magic horse, which actually hatches from an egg. Don't ask me how that works. But he basically calls it, what did he call it? Shoot, I forget what he calls the horse. Oh, Slay. He calls the horse Slay because he names it after Odin from Norse mythology, Odin's horse. So instead of giving him the full name of Odin's horse from Norse mythology, he just calls it Slay for short, which is actually pretty cool. But anyway, he develops his skills and everything like that, and the rest, they say, is history. But let's get into Mimori and let's get into some of these characters, okay? So, basically, Mimori, as a kid, was bullied and basically, like, tortured. Like, when I mean by tortured, like, he was, like, beaten severely, okay? And so, for the most part, he just, kind of is okay with being invisible. He tries to stick up for the class rep, Soko, but in the beginning, but after all, he, in the end, he just manages to relent and just say, hey, you shouldn't do that. But, when the upperclassmen, who are literally like the elite, saying, like, what are you going to do about it, Mimori, and everything like that, he just ends up backing down because he doesn't want to get hurt. Because honestly, guys, he has PTSD. He has trauma from being hit as a kid. Even though Mimori wants to do the right thing and he tries to bury his disdain or his hatred, even though he tries to do that, he just can't help it. He tries to bury his feelings, but once he gets to this other world, and the goddess basically is like, yeah, you're worthless, you're pathetic, you're whatever. Basically, Mimori is like, okay, that's it. I've had it. I have to survive now. My goal is to survive. My goal is to take revenge. And the thing is so many anime tropes are doing that. Like I mentioned, Arifureta, Rising of the Shield Hero, Moonlight Fantasy are some that come to mind. And still for Mimori, once he gets to these other world, that's why he trains his powers, is to take revenge. And he never forgets that, you know. So Mimori is determined, and I love this series because he ultimately, through his wanting of revenge, ultimately does the right thing. And as you progress through the story more with Mimori, you start to see that he still harbors revenge for the goddess and he still wants to, essentially kick her ass. But the people around him, like, say, Cirrus and Speed, at the leopard girl, the leopard girl, whatever, the gladiator, Liz, who is the little kid, and everybody, you start to see that he starts to care about them a little bit more. And you start to see that they really come together. They really start to trust one another, and they would never betray him. Cirrus would never betray him. In fact, there's a point in the series where Cirrus will be like, she asks him, like, essentially not what he thinks of her, but like in her own way, she asks if he would ever fall in love, and he kind of says, I can't do it right now because I feel my heart is too consumed with revenge. I'm focused on other things. But once I'm done, and even he says, I feel like I'm cursed. But he says, well, I think once those things are over and done with, then I can move on to other things. And she makes a promise to him that she will help him remove that curse. So she's completely 100% loyal and devoted to him. And then, of course, at the end of the series, she wants to confess her feelings to him. We're talking about Cirrus, but she knows that she just doesn't know how to say it. She's not ready to say it, but she will. And when the time comes, she will be ready. And he already knows that she loves him and he loves her back. But just right now, they're both not ready to say it, which, in my opinion, for the episode or for the season or for the series, whatever you want to say, that is anticlimactic because, damn it, I want my love scene, okay? I needed to hear this confession, and it didn't happen. But, anyway. Okay, let's talk about the goddess. Now, remember earlier in the video when I said that the goddess wasn't who I think she was or who the main characters think she was? Like, she's supposed to be this righteous, loving person? Yeah, that's not happening at all. And why is that not happening, you may ask? Well, quite simple, okay? I think secretly she's the Demon King in disguise, okay? Now, for those of you that have read the light novel or read the manga and you guys want to correct me, feel free to do so in the comments below. But let me give you my theory, okay? I think she was the Demon King, or she is the Demon King resurrected, okay? In the beginning of the series, when she's telling the class about the Demon King and the Demon King army, she says that all of the nations of the world basically banded together with a whole bunch of heroes who were summoned from another world, came together to beat the Demon King and seal it away, never to be seen, right? One big problem. My guess is is that with all the war and constant strife in the world, the Demon King managed to regain some of its power and is now back and has taken the form of the goddess. And basically, you got everybody in the world to summon the heroes from another world and everything like that, because she's going to pit everyone against each other so that they basically take them all out, and when it's all said and done, she gets her revenge for everybody sealing her away. So you can just kind of tell by her attitude and her personality that she is not a good person, that she does have a scheme going, and that her whole thing is that she wants revenge on all the nations that banded together, that sealed her away. So that is just my theory. I don't think the goddess is a good person. I think she literally is, like I said, the Demon King reborn. And this is her revenge play. And you never know that maybe the Mimuri, as well as the Witch of Taboos, or maybe a small force, basically grew strong enough, because remember, Mimuri is an E rank. Maybe you have to figure that in the end, the reason why she wanted to discard Mimuri and all those like her is because she knew that if he grew strong enough, he could maybe take her down. Now, what's that to say about the other classmates that she summoned to this world? Well, it's quite easy. Yes, they're all high-ranking heroes and everything like that, but maybe no matter how strong they get, they're not strong enough to do it. But maybe Mimuri is. See where I'm going? Maybe he knows how to defeat the goddess. If the Witch of Taboos can decipher the ancient magic, he might just be able to seal her away again, and maybe this time for good. Anyway, guys, that's what I have to say. I love Failure Frame. It was an awesome anime to watch. Yes, it's another isekai, but this one I very much enjoyed. Like I said, after I watched it the first time, I couldn't help but watch it again. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm actually thinking of watching it one more time. Anyway, guys, like I said, been watching a lot of anime. Can't wait to bring it to you. Don't know what I'm going to talk about next, but you can bet that I'm going to make it a real good one for you guys. Either way, that's enough out of me. Remember, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you like what you heard. And if you didn't like what you heard, well, I thank you for listening for this long. And leave a comment and tell me what you think of the anime. Remember to hit that notification bell so you know when I make another video. And remember, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go make it an anime day. And I will see you all in the next video.
Control center.
Ciao.
Mode. Selected. Recording.